You're working with Rob Bottin on The Thing, also very extensive transformation type of effects and other sorts of makeup effects. Is it more of a pain in the neck, or do you really enjoy the process?
Well, unlike John, we have set aside about 5 months to shoot all the effects, separate and apart from the first unit.
Well, you have much more extensive than I did. I mean,
they go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I have the same problems that John is describing, where you do 1 shot in a day or 2 shots in a day. And they are a pain in the neck if you try to do them in your first unit. If you're trying to do them all at the same time, like if I had a 10-week schedule and it took a week to do the transformations, I would be out of my mind.
It was the last week. We had shot all our, in fact, we'd shot all the inserts, so we had nothing to do. I was going to say, I read the screenplay by Bill Lancaster of John's movie, and
The Thing,
and it's just, talk about demand. It's unbelievable what is supposed to happen in the film. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. It's just it's mind-boggling.
Well, all of you have taken films that have scenes that really demand more of makeup effects than have been done previous to that time.
Well, that's, I mean, makeup men, people love that, of course. I mean, they curse you because they can't fall back on things that they've done before. But on the other hand, as any creative person would be, they're very excited by an incredible challenge. So if you know, the chances are that you will, after all, there are really only a limited number of fabulously good effects people. And there are a lot of films and producers who are clamoring for these people. So that in order, I mean, that's another thing that you don't, you know, that's behind the scene, but the chances that you'll get to work with somebody like Dick Smith or Rick Baker depend very much on how interesting and what kind of challenge it is that you're presenting them with. And if they're going to do something that they did 10 years ago, obviously it's not going to excite them as much as if it's something that they know their own colleagues are going to phone them up and say, how did you do that? I mean, that's what they want.
Although there's a new phenomenon that I see, because I'm a real monster movie buff, you know, I go see everything, no matter how schlocky, which is that it used to be that there'd be some pretty intelligently, you know, well-made, well-directed, well-acted, crafted films until the monster showed up. The monster was so dumb-looking that it blew everything. And now there's a whole new phenomenon, which is there've been a whole bunch of films that are just dreck, but the monsters look great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's the thing. I mean, what does a producer say? He says, look, the only way we're going to sell this terrible film is on the basis of the special effects, the stills of the special effects. I think Roger Corman had a lot to do with both sides of that. You know, I mean, if you're selling the artwork and the stills and the title before there is a picture, what are you going to sell? You're not selling the dialogue. You are selling the monster or the effect.
Corman used to do at AFP, they do the poster. And
first,
then they make a movie.
That's right. If the poster got good reviews, then they make the picture. So that means that you would apportion your budget. I mean, that happened to me on They Came From Within. In fact, I mean, we said, okay, look, when you have a dialogue scene, obviously it's 3 shots and goodbye, you know, 1 take, forget it. But when we have special effects, if it takes all day, great, you know, we have to do it. And that's exactly the way that film was shot.
Are you ever surprised by the reactions to your films, David, when you go in with an audience?
Oh, constantly.
Is there any particular time
I used to think that, you know, when I was younger and more arrogant and more ignorant, certainly, I used to think the idea of having previews for films was really a bizarre, cop-out, strange industry kind of thing, and I couldn't really understand what that was about. And I later realized that there's a very good reason for it, and I realized that, you know, I used to think, well, a poet doesn't, you know, go out and preview his poetry, but in fact I was wrong about that too, because poets always used to go out and read their poetry to audiences, and they would refine it afterwards, and for the very same reason. And you get so close to it after you worked on a picture for a year or 2 years or however long, that you begin to lose some kind of contact with it, and you have to vicariously experience it again through an audience so that you can really see what it is. I mean, it's almost impossible, it is impossible to walk into one of your own movies, even 30 years later, I'm sure, and see it the way anybody just walking in cold would see it. You can't see it that way. Every shot has a history, every cut has a history, every actor, every prop has a history that distorts your perception of your own film. You have to see it through other eyes. And when you do that, you are constantly being surprised at reactions to things. I mean, when it works exactly the way you thought it would, that's wonderful. It's very rare.
Okay, have either of you actually, based on a preview, changed something very strongly?
Sure.
Like, tell me a story.
The fog. The fog. I showed it to a bunch of people, and they didn't react the way I wanted them to. So I changed it.
Is that you shot some additional footage that was harder? Right?
Quick.
I actually moved the exploding head in scanners 10 minutes into the film. It was originally 2 minutes into the film.
It was the first scene. Yes.
Right.
And based on audience reaction to that, and the general pacing of the film, the rhythm of the film, I realized it was wrong, but I couldn't tell.
What's the biggest surprise you've ever had by an audience watching one of your films?
That I've ever had?
Yeah, have you?
Well, two, actually. One was, there's a line in Animal House that's spoken by Doug Kenny when he says, well, what the hell are we supposed to do, you moron? It's a line. That was not intended to be necessarily amusing. It was exposition. That get consistently in every country, in every language, in every theater in the United States I ever saw the movie, got a huge laugh.
So you cut it?
No, it's there, but I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why it gets such a huge laugh. I've never been able, I've said to people, why is that so funny? And they go, you know, to this day.
What's the other one?
No, on Werewolf, I made a change because of a preview that I think hurt my picture commercially, but didn't hurt it.
What did you change?
You know, there's a scene with 3 bubs by the Tower Bridge. Well, they get killed. The way it is now, you don't really see it. And you did really see it. And it was such a big scare that the audience, we previewed in Chicago and New York, the audience went, "Ah!" And for 5 minutes they were going, did you see that? Holy, you know, and such a buzz that I'm in the back of the theater going, shh, you know, there's plot going on. So I cut it out. And I think I probably made a mistake. Because when people talk about Jaws, they always talk about the face in the boat. You know, they talk about Halloween. You know, there's always specific things that really got them, and I cut it out of my movie.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank the 3 of you for joining us on this discussion here on Take One. John Landis, John Carpenter, and David Cronenberg. We look forward to The Thing in Videodrome this summer and your next secret project that I'm sure we'll be hearing about soon. Thanks a lot, and thank you for being with us on Take One.